Hello, goddesses. I hope you are well. As you know, at the start of the summer, I was guided to have some reflection time, and I chose to do that by taking the summer off, which meant that the circle had a summer break too, and I hope you're enjoying that. I felt that a shift or change was needed to the circle and my other services, and to find out what guidance the otherworldly had for me, I needed some space to let the guidance, the inspiration, and the ideas come in. Soon after that break started, the ideas, the guidance, and the inspiration did come in. But rather than jump straight into making changes, I chose to stay with the ideas for a while and visualise what that would mean and how it could all manifest into the earthly world. I'm now ready to share that with you. And I hope you want to continue to be part of my community in this next evolution and that there is something here that resonates with you. I'm going to share with you some of the guidance that was given to me and what's going to change going forward. So here we go. I'm going to be reading from my notes here to try and keep me on track. So if it doesn't look like my natural self, you know why. So during this time, I've been called and drawn to read and explore about intuitive and spiritualists from the past, mainly women, but also some men too. And I was particularly drawn to those who created their own organisations with rituals and levels to pass for initiation. And whilst I was curious about these people and their beliefs, the idea of having such a hierarchy and construction of levels to pass tests did not resonate with me in an intuitive and spiritual way at all. I know from personal experience that living an intuitive and spiritual life on this earthly planet as a conditioned human being is in no way linear. For example, you think you've released some conditioning, but any time there could be an event, person, situation, or something that triggers you and it comes flooding back. I know intuitive and spiritual initiation and transformation can feel like a test at times, but it's a very personal experience and not one that another individual should set for you like an exam. This was all really valuable for me to learn about this because it reinforced my belief that we need to live with and in flow to allow intuition and spirituality to be present in life. Creating structures is what happens in the earthly realm and in the patriarchal world. Being intuitive and spiritual is a life that flows, not one that has structures and hierarchy. Plus, each of us has our own path and our own levels to face or not face as we choose. So surely an intuitive and spiritual leader should support others based on their phase and stage in their intuitive and spiritual path. So even though the construction and implementation of these organisations and groups did not resonate with me, there was one thing that did strongly pull me in, and that was the idea of the group itself. A community of like-hearted people coming together for the same purpose. And it's clear to me now that I am to continue to do this, to host, facilitate, teach or guide others to learn and develop their intuition and to create an environment that encourages everyone to embrace living a spiritual life and to support one another with the ups and downs of earthly life. Whilst the Intuition Circle over the past few years has created some of this, a big dollop of inspiration came straight into my soul. This needs to be wider, this needs to be a collective of like-hearted people following their soul journey and modelling and showing others how it is done. I'm taking this guidance and I would like to introduce you to the new Collective for Intuitive and Spiritual Living. My purpose is to support those who are open and ready to live intuitively and spiritually on this planet, wherever they may be on their path, and to guide and teach or encourage heartfully and soulfully with empathy and encouragement. During this reflection time, my own intuitive and spiritual adventure has come into a sharp focus, and with hindsight I can see what the key phases and stages have been in my life that have moved me on intuitively and spiritually, the points of release, how I needed to deal with certain things. And there's three key phases that have come out of that for me. And it is that reflection that has guided me to create something different. So, as well as the individual services, there are three key things within the collective for intuitive and spiritual living to help people, whatever phase and stage they are in, to continue to move forward their intuitive learning and development and living intuitively and spiritually. And I'd like to take you through all those three now. So the first two may not be relevant for where you are at your phase and stage, but I'd be really grateful if you would watch and listen to them in case you know someone this might be useful for. So here we go, and I'm going to start with my first reflection. My first reflection really is very much tied into conscious memory and what I remember. And that was as a teenager, a young teenager, realising that I knew stuff that other people did not, that I knew stuff that would happen and other people didn't, and then being terrified when it did happen because no one else seemed to be expecting it other than me. And just no one else seemed to know what I knew or could hear voices that I could hear. And it was overwhelming, and I had overwhelming emotions that just knocked me off balance. And I remember how much fear I had then, and I didn't know what to make of it all and what to do with all this information that no one else had. And it's this first reflection from that period of my life that is about the guidance and mention I can give to others who are ready to explore what it all means. And this is the foundation of the collective for intuitive and spiritual living, which I'm referring to as starting out. Starting out is a gentle way to learn about intuition, what it is and where it comes from, and to demystify and ideally help people to release their fear about being intuitive and spiritual. So it's for those people who are ready to take their first steps to find out more, but in their own time, on their own, in their own way. For me, my starting out was reading, because obviously, this was many decades ago before YouTube. And it was reading books and magazines to learn more. And when something is a bit scary and you're fearful, for me, that was a really gentle way to start how I could control what I read when I read it. So for people who resonate with this starting out, each month I'm going to offer a monthly online magazine with blogs and vlogs for them to take in at their own time. The information included is to help demystify the otherworldly, release the fear, and to learn about being intuitive. So each month's magazine is going to cover a different topic or concept with guidance and insights that can be absorbed in people's own time. That's the starting out phase, and that's the foundation level for the collective for spiritual living. Let me take you on to the next phase now for people who are ready for a bit more than that. During what I can now see as my starting out phase and gaining my foundation and grounding, I started to accept I knew things that others did not seem to know. And as I moved into that early adulthood and I was living a very earthly life, I did start to realise there were other people like me. And the universe brought people into my path that I could learn from, which meant that I started to gently understand my intuition, to start on the healing path of releasing the fear, and to start getting that grounding through my higher self. So when the information came through, I was more able to deal with it. But as with anything, the more you learn, the more questions come up, the more you want to know. And at the fears did start to emerge. And it was during my 30s then, into adulthood, that I felt I became ready to talk about all of this. And I felt the need to talk and learn from others, as opposed to just doing this on my own. But who do you trust? And of course, had I been less fearful, I would have been able to tell more clearly who to trust. But I was working full time in the corporate world. I was living around and travelling around the world. I was very much living from conscious mind. And the hardest lesson at that time was to be aware of the false light. And this insight during the summer was my second major reflection, was about supporting people then who are ready to open up, to give them to someone who can listen and who they can talk to about this intuitive and spiritual experience in a supportive community. Now, while this follows on from the starting out, that foundational level of this new collective for intuitive and spiritual living, in no way do we live a linear life. So someone might want to be at the starting up, someone might come straight into this phase, which I'm calling the deepening circle. And what I've just described, that community of listening, opening up, learning about spiritual experience, kind of feels like the intuition circle has been for the past few years. So that circle is going to continue, but in a different way and with a new name, and it's going to be known as the deepening circle. And the deepening circle is that space and place for those who believe in the intuitive and spiritual, have some experience of it, still a little bit fearful, but ready to open up and be in a small community of those like-hearted people to talk about it, learn more, and understand and develop their intuitive ability. So we have the starting out, which is a very gentle way where people can do something on their own. Then we have this deepening circle. But the reason I'd taken a break from the circle was I felt there was something more, and the deepening circle feels a very strong comparison to what we've had. So I was aware that there was still another shift or change needed, and that soon came to me about what that was. So let me tell you about this next enlightenment phase. So what was that something else that I felt the previous circle needed? What was it? And it very soon came to me that the next evolution is beyond us as individuals and is about the collective that exists in the otherworldly, and specifically the energy of the collective spiritual consciousness in the otherworldly. Okay, let me break that down for you. So this next phase for us is continuing to develop ourselves as individuals, but actually we now have the capacity to do something bigger for the collective consciousness that exists in the otherworldly, that wants peace in the world. This was the enlightenment that I needed the space to receive and hear. And there are some of us who, as well as continuing to develop our intuitive ability and our spiritual living for ourselves and our families or anyone around us, we also have this something else within us, this something else that we want to do, a yearning or a thing to be. And that is the capacity to bring all of that individual spiritual and intuitive energy we have, to bring all of that to a higher level energetic consciousness to support the creation of peace in the world. And I've been guided to see that peace encompasses so many things: compassion, tolerance, understanding, release, detachment, surrender, courage, and most importantly, love. Now, this explanation may sound very subtle, that peace can be so many things. But if there's anything that's really needed in the world now, it really is that. And if this makes sense to you, then the newly created enlightenment circle may be for you. Because that's what this phase has been for me. It has been an enlightenment of the strong connection to the otherworldly as we embrace and integrate intuition and spirituality into our everyday life. And we feel the capacity and strength to show this to the world through our earthly behaviour, our choices, our communication, and our truth-telling. This is the enlightenment of we have deepened and we now live intuitively and spiritually. Whether other people see that in us or not is irrelevant. We know we are doing this, and we are role models to show the people how you can live that way, particularly in a world that is so crazy. And by living our way, how we can connect to everybody else energetically around the world doing the same thing, so that we can create this super manifestation to bring peace, equality, courage, compassion, all those wonderful things that we believe in, to bring all of that into the world. So the Enlightenment Circle has a dual focus, just as we live in duality all the time. And that dual focus is to continue our individual developments and to support one another, but also to have time in our circle to create that vibrational frequency to connect to the otherworldly energy, to co-create peace in our world. Now, if you're wondering what the difference is between the deepening and the enlightenment circle, let me go on and try and explain that a little bit more. So if you're wondering and still needing some clarity about the difference between the deepening circle and the enlightenment circle, let me enlighten you. Sorry, I just couldn't resist that. Of course, we continue to have a focus on intuitive and spiritual developments in the enlightenment circle, but you are going to be guided to channel more guidance from the otherworldly for yourself. Additionally, as a collective, the Enlightenment Circle is going to have a focus on creating a vibrational frequency for peace in the world, to connect to the collective that exists for peace in the world. And each month in our circle, we will have time to create that vibrational frequency together. So we continue to focus on ourselves and our individual development and healing, and a focus on the collective we want to be part of and what we want for our world. And there's more to the Enlightenment Circle to connect us to the otherworldly. It is this circle that's also going to receive exclusive access to my channeling from my guides and the otherworldly on what Mother Earth and our planet needs, and to discuss this in our circle. The discussion may be about what it means, how do we do this individually, how do we do it collectively, and it's likely going to challenge our conditioning and current beliefs, and that's why it's the Enlightenment Circle. The Enlightenment Circle is for those who are already carving out their path in this earthly realm to live intuitively, spiritually, and in harmony with Gaia and the otherworldly, and to feel they have the capacity to do something for the collective. In contrast, the Deepening Circle is purely focused on individual development, healing, learning, and guidance. If you do not have the capacity to focus on the collective at this time, or you feel it's not the right time for you to do that, the Deepening Circle is there for individual learning, for individual development, for individual healing. The Enlightenment Circle, we continue our own healing, we continue with our own healing, but we start with a focus and capacity to help heal the world as well. Another reflection for me was the balancing of being in a collective with having individual reflection time. And I've benefited from some individual reflection time without being part of a collective for the past few months. And that felt a great model to me for how to manage our energy, our self-care as we go through continued healing. So there are some earthly reflections that fit into this as well. And one of the things I can reflect on after several years of the Intuition Circle, and what I think is important, is that we need self-reflection time as well as being part of a collective and having peer support. We sometimes need a break from the collective to clear the energy so we're not getting drawn in by other people's energy, and that we can have that individual time to focus on ourselves. So to balance the collective and the individual time, the Deepening Circle and the Enlightenment Circle, which will happen on separate dates, are going to have term times where we meet collectively And there will be months where we do not have a collective circle, and the focus then is for spiritual care, going within, and reflection. To me, this feels deeply balanced and in harmony with Gaia and individual spiritual nourishment. Both the Deepening and the Enlightenment circles have 8 online circles a year. So you can work it out that there'll be 4 months that you have for individual spiritual reflection and focus. Our spring term is March, April, and May, a summer term of June and July, and an autumn term September, October, and November. So you can work out that the months for individual self-reflection are August, December, January, and February. And to me, that feels really in flow with living seasonally, which is part of being intuitive and spiritual. Now, during the months when we don't have the collective circle, August, December, January, and February, when you are taking time for your spiritual self-care and reflection, you continue to receive guidance from me, and you can have a one-to-one session with me, and I will continue to support, provide insights, provide questions for reflections. I will provide you with what you need during that time to help with your spiritual self-care and reflection. How that's going to work, I don't know, because we're living in the flow now. We'll be responding to what you do at that time. So that's where we are, and the Enlightenment Circle is going to start this September. The other parts are yet to be seen. That's a lot of information. I hope I've explained it clearly, but let me do a summary to make sure. I'm going to summarise some of what I've said and also talk about some of the more practical bits, such as timing, money, etc. And I'm going back to my notes for this. So, in summary, my purpose is to create the space for a broader community. I'm not guided yet at the point to go networking and make a big deal about this to other people. There's a very strong sense in those who need it are going to come and find it. My purpose is simply to create the space, my arms are going out, for a broader community, which is the collective for intuitive and spiritual living, and to guide people, whatever their phase and stage, on their intuitive and spiritual path. To do that, there are 3 paths I have available to support people collectively, as well as continuing with individual mentoring sessions and oracle readings, separately and individually. So the collective paths, the first one is starting out. People can join starting out to have a monthly magazine with a concept or a subject about intuition to help them explore more in their own time and in their own way. And that's £10 a month. They receive that information that magazine by email once a month. They may have access to a Telegram channel for community insights and support, yet to be seen. But that's the starting out. The monthly magazine, read and take in the content at your own time, £10 a month. For those who want more than that, the Deepening Circle is there to help people unlock their own insights. They will have the monthly magazine, and it's that monthly magazine that is going to be the focus and the discussion for the Deepening Circle. Whatever the concept is for that month is what will be discussed in the Deepening Circle. And they get 8 circles a year in the Deepening Circle and the 4 months of individual self-reflection, which obviously I will be guiding, and that is £20 a month. And those circles are going to happen on the second Wednesday of the month, 7:30 p.m. The Enlightenment Circle is our peer group where we continue to develop ourselves and intuition individually. We open up to new spiritual practices, we connect and channel with the otherworldly, we connect to the like-hearted collective to raise vibrational frequencies and support one another to live an empowered, intuitive and spiritual life. This is the individual and the collective coming together. You will have all my channeled content that I will share with you. We have the 8 circles on the 3rd Wednesday of the month, which is when we used to have the Intuition Circle. So in honour of the Intuition Circle, I am keeping that date and time frame. You can also have one monthly session with me a month. We will continue on Telegram for insights and support. You have 10% discount for the online store, and that also will be £30 a month, as was the previous circle. I hope that summarises it for you, but don't worry. I will put all this in writing to you so you can see it there too. So the Collective for Intuitive and Spiritual Living has 3 paths that can help people in their different phases and stages of their intuitive and spiritual life. And if a collective isn't right for them, then I am continuing with personal mentoring sessions and oracle readings. I'm also continuing with the online store to offer products that can support spiritual well-being and to help create a personal spiritual sanctuary. Thank you for watching and listening to all that about me, my purpose and what I'm doing and what I've been guided to do. Thank you so much. And thank you for being part of this community for as long as you have been. I hope you continue to will be in some way. But now it's about you and what is next for you. And I think some of you will feel the Enlightenment Circle calling to you. And like me, you'll feel excited, re-energized and positive about that. It's something different that we haven't done before, and it's our next evolutionary step, if you like. If you don't have the capacity in your life right now to focus on collective as well as individual, that's okay. There's absolutely no judgment here, and that's why these different pathways are available. Because there's things going on in life where you may be raising children, you may be caring for elders, that there just isn't the capacity to think of, the collective as well as you as an individual. So it's over to you now. What would you like to do? If there's a circle you still want to be part of the Deepening Circle or the Enlightenment Circle, I would love you to let me know as soon as possible. You can give me a call, you can text me, you can send me a message on Telegram. And what will happen next is I will send a link to you on the 1st of September so you can make payment for that. If we do it any earlier, you'll be paying ahead of time and the payments will all get confused. So it all starts on the 1st of September. And for the Enlightenment Circle, which I know some of you want to come into already, our first collective circle will be on the 3rd Wednesday of September. Now, I've given quite a lot of information. I think it's quite clear. Whether you do or not, you can let me know. But I will include all this in writing for you as well. So I look forward to hearing from you on what your next step is. And thank you so much for being with me on this adventure.